Welcome to the Heart Journey podcast with Dr. Barbara. I am Dr. Barbara Jean Lowe Sauvé, and we are talking all things from codependence to Christ dependence. We're going through a very great deliverance as we are diving deep into this content 3 times a week. That's right. The Heart Journey podcast with Dr. Barbara is being released right now 3 times a week. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then Flashback Fridays. Today is Flashback Friday, and we're going to hear from Dr. Sheri Keffer, a friend of mine who we both speak at the American Association of Christian Counselors. We're both friends with Leslie Vernick, and we just have a couple different overlaps in our life, and we have podcasted together several times. I'm sharing with you some exclusive content that she gave us for the World Women's Wholeness Summit in 2020. We podcasted or we recorded her sharing on overcoming betrayal in marriage from her first husband. He was in ministry and he had unrepentant sexual sin. So we are going to hear from her. Notice where she is moving from codependence to Christ dependence, from coming out of the darkness and into the light, that her child parts are being healed, that Jesus is healing her broken heart. Write down tools that you can use, whether you are a male or a female, so that you can move from codependence to Christ dependence. All right, let's hear from Sheri here. You guys are going to love this one. We have Dr. Sheri Keffer with us. She herself has done some summits. This girl is a world changer, and she's going to talk to us about, recovery after sexual betrayal. Have you been through it? I've been through it. I've been betrayed. Most of us have been betrayed in one way or another, and this talk is going to help so much. Thank you, Dr. Sheri, for being here. I'm so thrilled.
Hey, Dr. Barbara, I love it, and I'm so excited for what you are doing and thrilled to be a part of helping us look at what it means to get whole again after sexual betrayal.
Dr. Sheri, I'm going to pop in at the end and say thank you and goodbye, and I'm going to let you get to it, and you can share about. You have so many letters after your name, so I want you to share with them all the wonderful things you're doing.
You bet. You bet.
All right, I'll see you afterwards.
All righty. So, first off, I just want to say, hey, I am so grateful to be here with you all. And I'm not grateful for what happened to me. That gives me the opportunity to relate with all of us. But I want you to know how much I care about you, love you, and I'm fighting for you. And I have a ton of information today. I'm one of those people that believes knowledge is power. And so you're going to have to strap in, buckle up, because you're going to get a lot. But I just want you to have what you need to begin your process of becoming whole again after sexual betrayal. So let me do exactly what Dr. Barbara said and tell you a little bit about my credentials. So I'm a doctor of marriage and family therapy. I'm the founder of braveone.com, and that's a website for betrayed partners like yourself. I'm certified partner trauma therapist, and that is through ITAP, and I'm also one of their supervisors. I'm a certified sex addiction therapist, a certified clinical partners therapist through APSATS, that's APSATS.org. I'm a consultant in EMDR, and I also do Bravery After Betrayal. It Takes Fear Strength retreats. You'll see there in the center of the screen is my book, Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal. And because today is going to seem so fast, speed, there are 20 chapters in that book that are plumb filled with information for you, specifically in how to help you heal. But let me tell you the credential that I think is most important. This seems like a laundry list, but you know what is most important to me is that I get it. And I get what happened to you. And that's what actually brings me probably the biggest ability to relate and have some credibility in how to dig out. Because the last few decades, I've been digging out. And now God has called me up into a place of how I can help you fight for yourself, your family, and those you love. So what do we do with our lives when, as we know it, falls apart? We are completely devastated. So betrayal is a deliberate act of disloyalty. And back in the times when Hebrew was written, it was written kind of in the days where it was more like hieroglyphics, like Chinese or Egyptian, and it was word pictures. And so the Hebrew carries with it two ideas. To betray is the word rima, which means what comes from a person of chaos. And to deceive is bagad, which means to hide, to cover, to offend, to deal unfaithfully with, or to pillage. And that comes from Dr. Frank Seekins, who's a scholar, a Hebrew scholar, and I worked with him in writing my book. So these are common responses to betrayal trauma. And so see how many of them fit for me. The first one is shame, with the belief that I'm not enough. Then there's shock and disbelief, right? I can't believe what's happening to me. We isolate from others. I can't tell anyone what's happening because I don't want anyone to know. I feel tremendous shame. I feel anxiety and fear off the charts, and we don't know what we're going to do with what we've discovered. There's tremendous grief. There's loss. There's sadness. There's depression because the life that we once had is no more. We're irritable. We're angry. We're enraged. Like, how in the world could you do this to me? I mean, anger is a normal part of experiencing the impact of betrayal. Some of us wonder if we are going to have some sexually transmitted disease. How in the world did I get this? There's fear-induced control, right? Because underneath that, we believe we're not in control. So that causes us to control things around us because we're trying to find safety. There's trust issues. And so I talk about the deadly duo. There's a couple of beliefs that get wired in at the crime scene of the impact of deception. One is, I can't trust anyone, and the other is, I can't trust my judgment. So those together become the deadly duo that keep us in a place of fearing to trust again. There's these intrusive thoughts. Those are the thoughts that come in that we don't want. Right? But we can't get our mind to calm down and stop. And then there's confusion. We ask ourselves, am I going crazy? Well, let me tell you this. You're not alone, and you're definitely not crazy. And you'll know that by the end of our time together today. So this is what the research points to. When we look at the impact of betrayal, it actually shows acute stress and post-traumatic stress. The shock, the far-reaching impact, that mind-numbing disbelief, the text you've read, the pictures you've found, right, on the phones or on iPads, the conversations you've overheard, or the unforgettable situation that you've unknowingly walked into. I've talked to partners who've actually walked in on their husband or some other person, their boyfriend, they're making out in the car, or maybe they're in their own home, sexually acting out. It's horrible. It's like walking into an angry nest of wasps. Hemorrhaging from an overdose of poisonous venom actually may be a more merciful way to go. I mean, think about it. Think about the similarities. A honeybee can only sting once as its barbed weapon becomes lodged in its victim, ending the bee's life. But a wasp stinger can remain intact, so it can sting over and over again. When a betrayed partner is still living with a spouse that's sexually addicted or a serial cheater, the chronic pain and the ongoing deception of what happens to us continues to sting us, the unsuspecting spouse. We're all walking wounded, and I've heard your stories. They're heartbreaking, and I have my own. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. So I ended up marrying a pastor, and I'm telling you, when I first met him, I felt like Cinderella putting my slipper in a glass, my foot in a slipper, like a glass slipper. I really did. He was amazing. And we met long distance. I knew his family and loved his family, loved his brother, and went to school with his brother and his wife and loved their kids. So I didn't see it coming. But soon into our marriage, I realized that there was something wrong. Connor, who I call my husband, began to pull away. And I didn't understand why he didn't want to be with me. He was pulling away. He didn't really want me to nibble on his ear or hold his hand. And I thought, we're newlyweds. What is going on? Well, what I didn't understand is that he had been sexually acting out well before I met him due to some circumstances in his life, which I didn't know about. He had a problem, and he had a problem with sexual infidelity and sexual integrity. And that's the bulk of it, was what happened in our marriage. But I knew about one thing. I knew that he had called a 900 number. So back in the day, a 900 number was like a phone sex line. And I actually was so naive that I thought it was a recording. I thought maybe it was a place that you call and, listen to somebody, I don't know, saying some sexual things. And I was devastated when we went into inpatient and realized that that wasn't a recording. They were live women that he was talking to. I thought, how in the world could he be talking to these live women? And here I am, a newlywed. When I found out about the 900 numbers before we married, I knew about one call, and I decided to forgive him for that. And because you know what? I wasn't a perfect person. And I thought, well, why would I hold that against him? But I didn't know back then to ask further questions. I didn't know to ask the questions like, how long has this been going on? And is this something you struggle with often? And when's the last time you called a 900 number? Those are questions I know now on the other side of incredible pain. And that's why I'm here to help you all sort out what is going in your world and how I can help you heal. But in the term of our marriage, we actually, I experienced pornography, affairs, prostitutes, the whole gamut. And so as I talk with you today, I'm talking with you saying it's all bad. Whether you've discovered pornography, whether you've discovered affairs, whether you've discovered chats, cyber sex, I'm just saying, let's just agree right now that it's all bad and it all hurts. The other piece that I want to tell you is I grew up in a home where there was some mental illness, severe mental illness. So I'm what I call trauma squared, meaning I had trauma in my family of origin and then trauma in my marriage. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about that further on. So there's been some changes, and I'm so excited about these. But let me tell you what the traditional modes of treatment for us as betrayed partners has been. The clinicians, therapists, and well-meaning people have used a disease model, which is this. We, the betrayed person, are sick. And they've immediately, in the past, pinned us as co-sex addicts. They've said things like this: you're addicted to your husband, or maybe that you're two heat-seeking missiles that found each other. And they've told us things like this: you need to stop policing, stop supervising, or stop being a detective. So I have one thing to say to that. How are you supposed to know what's going on with deception, because it is so hidden, without looking? So there's shame that I'm peeling back right now, saying that that's sometimes how we find out for the first time something's going on, because deception is hidden. It's not seen by us. So the assumption has been that the spouse of a sex addict is automatically labeled a co-sex addict. Barbara Steffens is one of my sheroes, and in 2005, she began to do some research on partner betrayal. She created something called a multidimensional trauma model, and she looks at trauma and abuse that is often a part of sexual deception and betrayal. This is what Barbara says, Dr. Barbara. She says, partners do what trauma survivors do, and they seek what they can't find: safety in an unsafe situation. Dr. Omar Manwala is also a clinician who created a term called sex addiction-induced trauma. And this is what he said: the impact of sex addiction causes clinically significant psychological destabilization and symptoms of trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder. And the reason is because our reality is totally fragmented and our psychological safety is compromised at the most basic level. So with these folks that have basically said, hey, wait a second. This new way of seeing ourselves as sex addiction induced trauma is really an awesome way, because people now, clinicians, well-meaning people who are in the helping professions, are starting to get more educated about this as betrayal trauma instead of there's something wrong with us. So this is a trauma model, meaning we're impacted. There's no labels, there's no name calling, right? We address the behaviors from a trauma lens. We want to help you figure out how to take care of yourself with self-care. How to look at this through a trauma model and really get more empowered. Now, let me say this really quickly, because I'm trauma squared. I want you to know that, yes, I was impacted by Connor. I didn't consent to what he did. I didn't say it was okay for you to, see prostitutes or look at porn. And so this new model says, hey, you weren't complicit with that, and you've been impacted. Now, for those of us who are trauma squared that may have some family origin issues, I want you to know, for me to learn that, yeah, I did have some issues in me that were underneath it. And those were still trauma, but I had to sort out what was trauma from my family of origin and trauma from the impact of sexual betrayal. So either way, the truth is we've been impacted. And we need to be stabilized, and our stories need to be validated. So first things first, let me say this. It's kind of like a hospital ICU ward. I want you to know, I see you. And so often when we go into places where we're trying to get help, some of the well-meaning folks, again, are not up with the latest information. And so they may want to put that on you. And instead of saying something wrong happened to you. And I liken it, when I talk to treatment professionals, this is what I say. It's kind of like somebody comes into my office and they've been betrayed. And, they walk in the door, and if I could see them, what was going on in their physical realm, it's like they've been hit by a Mack truck and they've got their arm is dangling by one tendon. And if I was to go in a hospital and see a professional doctor, it's like that doctor would come up to me and look at that betrayed partner and go, oh, hey, I see that you're in a lot of pain. So, can you tell me about what it was like when you fell out of the tree when you were 8 years old? Seriously? It makes no sense to go talk about that right away when you're bleeding out. So we want to go to someone who really understands the impact of sexual betrayal and what it means to be impacted in the moment. So with all this changes, right? Is there a co-sex model, or are we like trauma people, and what has happened? I decided to do some research. I built on what Dr. Barbara Steffens did, because I wanted to figure out what is true, just like the elephant, right? And everybody had a different perspective. If they grab its nose, they say it's a snake. And if they grab its tusk, it's a spear. They grab its leg, it's a tree. But I was like, so what is true about the impact? So here's my research. I spent time and did research with 100 women to tell you a little bit about who they were. It was all females. And the average age was 49 years old. But I had people in my sample that were anywhere from 29 to 72. The average length of their marriage was actually 20 years. Long marriages. But some of my folks had been married anywhere between 1 month to 48 years. Guess what I found? 76% of them reported clinical clinical levels of post-traumatic stress. I used this measure called a PCL5, which is a very well-established measure. So post-traumatic stress, that means 3 out of 4 of the 100 women showed symptoms. That's crazy. And then this is another finding that was very interesting to me, is 79% of the 100 women, that's almost 80%, had some early childhood experiences. There's something called an ACE, and it stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. Well, 79% of them had 1 or up to 10 of these painful things that have happened to them growing up. But 20 out of the 100 women had a goose egg. They had 0. So what I'm wondering about that is that maybe some of us are like me that are trauma squared. We've got some trauma in family origin, but maybe some of us have come from good enough homes. And yet we still may have married, or we may be in a dating relationship with somebody, and we've been impacted even though we came from a good enough home. So because I kept hearing our stories, and I have my own, one of the things that just felt like it was lifting off the page at me over and over again was the hurt of denial and deceit and blame. It's because that hidden stuff hurts us so bad. So I asked these 100 women, I said, so which of the following events feel more damaging to you? And I said, hey, both of these things are bad, but which one feels more damaging? A, the knowledge about my partner's sexual acting out, so all the things that they do, or the continued lies that were used after I found out about my partner's sexual acting out and their behaviors. Guess what? 65% of us said it is the continued patterns of lies that hurt us in addition to what's happened. And let me just show you what some of the behaviors were in case some of you may be asking, well, what were their behaviors? I'm telling you, it was everything under the sun, from pornography to masturbation to emotional affairs to affairs with multiple people, topless bars, coworker affairs, massage parlors, illegal sexual activity. I mean, it is all of it. But those continued patterns of lies continue to hurt us more. So this phrase, addicts lie, they lie a lot, is not to be taken lightly. Because for every act of sexual deception, there is a lie that damages a man or a woman on the other side. Well, guess what I decided to do? I thought, all right, so 65% of us say it's the lies. So I thought, so let me ask us, would you be willing to stay in your relationship and work through the difficulties of healing and recovery if the person who betrayed you stopped lying? 88% of us said yes, we would be willing to stay. Now, you know what that says? We are amazing, resilient warriors, and we fight for our families. We fight for those that we love, and we're willing to do the hard work. So we have got to be the ones to get the healing from the deception trauma. I created a phrase called it's intimate deception betrayal trauma. And this is what I think we need to heal. I think there's two pillars. And there's two pillars that the betrayed partner must have in order to restore trust. One is safety. And I've mentioned safety before. But the second one is the truth. We need to know both of those, because until I get the truth, how do I know I'm safe? Like if somebody is continuing to act out and they're saying, no, I'm good, but they're really not good, deception is still intact, then I can't really feel safe inside my own body or in my relationship. I talk more about it in my book, Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal, in a chapter called To Tell the Truth. So let's look at betrayal trauma, because it's layered, right? There's relational trauma, there's post-traumatic stress, there's sexual trauma, there's complex, layered trauma, those trauma squared folks like myself. And so I call this the dirty dozen. And let's look at the layers of impact. And as I'm going through the layers of impact, I decided to weave in some nuggets for us. I decided to weave in wisdom for wholeness. And whenever you see that, you're going to see a turquoise thing at the top, a banner that says, hey, this is what wisdom for wholeness looks like. These are the things you want to do to help you heal. So the first one of the dirty dozen is discovery trauma. And that's what you find, right? That's what you found on their phone, on the computer. Those are the conversations. And I'll tell you something. When we ask each other as betrayed partners, our discovery trauma, and the first time we found something out, we remember where we were, what we were wearing. That whole thing in our mind is like a slow motion movie because it completely disrupted our world. That's discovery trauma. And so when there are discoveries, That's it, nothing else. Discoveries. No, I promise, I'm not doing anything more. Or when our husbands or significant others basically give us these drip by drip discoveries, Barbara Steffen's research says that can hurt us more because it's like getting one grenade at a time. And so the next thing, which is called disclosure, right? And this is disclosure trauma, but there's something called a therapeutic full disclosure. And that's really a truth-telling process that you go through in a very responsible, thoughtful way with clinicians who've been trained to do this. Um, you get kind of a reckoning of what has happened to you so that you get it to make choices about that. So in and of itself, the disclosure is a trauma event, but the research, which I talk about in my chapter on disclosures, and that's in To Tell the Truth, talks about that people were kind of scared to do it, both husbands and wives ahead of time. But after they did it in a very healthy therapeutic way, they were in the 90 percentile zone as far as how many of them said, I'm glad we did this. The next type of trauma, the dirty dozen, is deception trauma. And this is actually the intimate deception betrayal trauma. This is one of the partners who was at a workshop of mine, and this is what she said. You lied to me. The person I trusted most lied over and over and over again. So there's a concept that some of y'all may hear out there. It's called gaslighting. Gaslighting came out of the 1944 movie with Ingrid Bergman. And to be honest with you, I've seen the movie and I've never finished it entirety because I start watching this movie and the gaslighting is going on and my body starts to squirm and I literally go, I can't see any more of this. I think it's because, we live it and it's lying in the most deceptive way. So gaslighting occurs when someone strategically twists the truth to make you think you're crazy or something's wrong with you. They do this in order to cover their own deceptive behavior. Now, in the movie, the 1944 movie, this guy knew what he was doing, right? And he was covering up, he was looking for family jewels that had been, hidden in the attic by an aunt. So he married this woman in order to get access to these jewels. Well, in those days they had those gas lights and so he was up there looking around and the lights went on and off. And the wife noticed it. She kind of went, that was weird. So when he came down the stairs, she asked him, hey, did you see the lights go on and off? And this is what he said. He said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he said, you've not been looking very well lately. Okay, that's gaslighting when somebody puts it on you. Now, some of our husbands or significant others are doing it because they're covering their deceptive path, but they don't know that they're doing it, right? So not everybody who does it is like the guy in the movie. So whenever I begin to bring information around this, if I'm working with a couple and I do some education around it, the people that go, oh, I didn't know I was doing that, and they're open to learning about it, and they're open to stopping their behavior, okay, those are the guys that I want to help them get it. And then some of them, no matter what education is done, they continue to act out because they're still hiding some stuff they don't want to share. So let me just kind of tell you what it sounds like. I have a chapter called Gaslighting, Deception, and Blame, oh my. And I like us to know the difference between all three because they're all three very different entities. But I'm going to go into just gaslighting so you can hear what it sounds like. It would be like this. You're such a drama queen. You make a big deal out of everything. You need to get over it. Or if you weren't so overweight, I wouldn't be dealing with this. When you start dealing with your issues, we'll talk. Oh, that just hurts to hear. You get angry over the smallest things. You need to lighten up. Gaslighting, again, it's putting it on you. I think you've gotten your facts wrong. You always make stuff up in your head. Again, it's about us. So let me give you some empowering things that you can say in order to push back. Here's a wisdom for wholeness. These are empowering one-liners that can help us hold on to ourselves and respectfully disagree. So we could say something like, interesting, that's not how I remember it. Now, no one can take your mind, right? We own our mind. And so that's a phrase that can be used because we don't have to believe what they're saying. Another one can be, I don't remember saying it that way, right? I'm holding on to my own person, my own mind, my own experience. Or we may have to disagree. We may have to agree to disagree on this one. So again, we can even disagree and say, yeah, I don't have to join in with the gaslighting. So there's boundaries for myself, right? Wisdom for wholeness is setting boundaries for myself, who I am and who you are, especially if something isn't safe. We have to, many of us who've been gaslit or there's been a lot of deception for a while, we have to learn to trust our own gut again, right? We have to learn how to listen to ourselves and what's true. So then the fourth one out of the dirty dozen is the relationship and attachment trauma. This almost goes without saying, but it is so impacting because what hurts the most is that the committed partner, right, the one that we trusted to and believed that would be closest to us and that would protect us, is the one who, lied to us and acted out and betrayed us and had affairs or looks at porn or whatever. And so it shatters us. Then there's the children and family that's impacted. This is number 5 out of the dirty dozen. And I found this picture on the internet and it just broke my heart because we have these devices, right? And we give them to our children because we want to make sure we know where they are and we want them to have access to us. But let me just tell you something, and I say this in love, but I call us up to action. There is no condom for the internet. And so these little devices that we give our kids, if our homes and their devices are not protected, they can unknowingly these days, and it's not hard at all, I could show you, and I'm not going to show you because I don't want, in case any children are watching or have access to this, I don't want them to practice what I'm going to do. But within 2.5 seconds, I can find porn on my phone today. And that's by just simply putting in a word. And there's no protection. So it's up to us to protect our families. This broke my heart when I saw it. 1 out of 10 people who go to hardcore porn sites today are 10 years old or younger. They're stumbling upon it. And this is research that was done by Bitdefender in 2016. And so that was a few years ago. And I'm sure because of what's happening in our culture, things have changed. And so, again, please don't wait for there to be a problem. Put some protections around your kids. The next, number 6 out of the dirty dozen, is what happens to us. It's the shame and identity trauma that we believe. And so here's a question I often ask ourselves. And I want you to think about this even as you're listening to me right now. So what is the negative belief about yourself in light of what has happened to you? Right? What's that negative belief about yourself in light of what has happened to you? And sometimes it comes like an I am statement, like I am not enough. I am shameful. I am not sexy enough. It could sound like this: I am not in control, or I cannot trust anyone, or I am helpless. It's this belief that got wired in your mind as a result of the trauma. So let me give you a few of these. This is Rocio. My body was never beautiful enough to catch or keep his attention, that he had to lust after other women but me. Bless her heart. That is betrayal trauma. Here's Grace. Grace says, I'm not worth being faithful to. It's my fault that my husband strayed. And this woman didn't even put her name. Breaks my heart. She didn't even put her name on her belief. And it's, I am old and unworthy. So much shame gets put on us. And those of us, again, like myself, that's trauma squared, grew up not only have we been betrayed by our significant other, but we've experienced pain and trauma in our childhood. So this is something that Kirsten said. As a little girl and as a woman, I am invisible. Therefore, Since I let you define me, I must be ugly, unlovable, not wanted, not beautiful, and not desired. Such a burden, but that's the shame that's gotten stuck to her. And it sticks to us like Velcro. It's like that thing that we become tar babies, right? It gets stuck to us. And so I want to help you learn how to peel that off. So some of our origins of maybe past and present, we've lost safety, we've lost comfort, we didn't have empathy growing up. Shame makes us, as betrayed partners, want to hide. We don't come out of hiding. In fact, it took me years to come out of hiding because I was so impacted by the shame of what Connor was doing. I didn't want to tell anyone. And this is the part that breaks my heart more than anything else, is because of that, we don't get our healing. And no one else can help us heal but ourselves, right? And so there's three things that grow that shame. We're like tar babies, and the stuff gets attached to us like bad Velcro. But the shame continues to grow in a petri dish. And this is the research of Brene Brown. And I love Brene Brown because she shares a lot of stuff about shame. But these are the three things that she says grows it: secrecy, silence, and judgment. What's the antidote to shame? What do y'all think? Maybe just say it out loud. If you're listening in a group right now with some that you decided to watch this together, what do you guys think the antidote to shame is? Empathy. All right. So wisdom for wholeness. This is another one of those tidbits. Empathy. It's you're not alone. I know. Me too. It happened to me. And so then we feel understood. We feel validated and safe. We don't have to scream anymore. So that's why it's so important for you to find a safe group of women that get this and that can walk this out with you in a non-judgmental way so we can heal. Another piece of wisdom for wholeness is we've got to learn how to replace these trauma-induced negative shame beliefs with positive truths about ourselves. So let me give you a few ways that you might be able to start practicing that. So first off, when we've got that traumatized brain, right? We've been impacted by the betrayal trauma. Our brain spins like a merry-go-round, right? We have anxiety, we feel depressed, we've got our brain thinking over and over again about what happens to us. It might be even replaying what we've seen or what we've heard, or even what we don't know, right? Our brain just starts spinning. And so these memories that we have because of the impact of betrayal, they get lodged in our mind. And in this place, it's the amygdala, is this place in the brain that holds highly charged emotional memories. So imagine the amygdala like a big refrigerator. And then there are these painful memories that are in Tupperware containers, right? There's this event that happened, and then there's all these feelings around it. And it's kind of like that memory gets put in the refrigerator, and it sits there for day after day after day after day. So, y'all, I know we clean our refrigerators. And so what happens when we leave these bad memories and these painful events, that's this untreated trauma, in the refrigerator too long? What do you think happens? Just like what happens in our real refrigerators. The top burps off. It stinks. We have stuff that starts to leak out in our lives. Leaks out anxiety, leaks out depression, it leaks out on our kids, right? Because we're more irritable. And so we have got to help ourselves heal. We have to help our brain. So trauma is both thoughtfully and emotionally stored in the brain. It's not just stored with a belief. This is the weird thing about trauma. It's like a weed. It's resistant to change. And many times we can change it with a thought, with knowing the right truth. But sometimes it's a little harder to get those beliefs to change because whatever fires together, wires together. And it was fired and wired with some feelings and a belief. And so sometimes we have to get it fired up and rewired again with some emotions as well. And we're going to talk about that. So first, let's try this. Another wisdom for wholeness. So there's something that I call the 180-degree turnaround. And I talk about it in extent, in a lot of detail in my book, but let me just give you the gist of it for today. So what you do is you write out that negative belief, right? That trauma-induced shame belief that got stuck to us like Velcro. And then ask yourself, what is the opposite? If it's I'm not enough, what would the 180-degree turnaround be? Well, that would be I am enough. Now, don't worry if you don't believe it right now. I'm just saying that's your goal, right? Just write it down because I want you to know what your target is. I want you to know what the truth should be, right? Because we got these nagging neggies that keep going, but until we actually, if we just kind of spin in the negative, we'll never know what target we're supposed to hit. So I'm going to share some of those so you know what they sound like. And maybe even seeing this presentation today might be the first time that you've stopped long enough to go, yeah, I believe that. I believe that. I believe that. And then I'm going to tell you the truth. And you're going to go, oh my goodness, she's right. She's right. She's right. That is, you may believe it today for the first time. You may feel some healing today just because you've looked at what the truth sounds like and then you can agree with it. So here they are. Negative shame beliefs on the left-hand side. What do we say? I'm naive, I'm blind, yeah, right? But the opposite, what would that be? The positive truth is, I've been deceived, right? Doesn't that make sense? You're not naive and blind. You couldn't see because it was being hidden from you, right? Some of us say, I'm stupid. Truth of it is I'm smart. I can learn. The next one, everything is my fault. What's the opposite? I'm responsible for myself. It's not my fault. Something happened to me. I cannot trust anyone. The opposite is I can choose whom to trust. Now this one is I'm worthless. What would the opposite be? I am worthy. On the left-hand side, shame beliefs, I have no voice. What would the opposite be? I can find my voice. I can learn to find my voice. Do you know, you wouldn't even recognize me when all this went down. And let me tell you why. I was one of those gals who, if I was with you and something went wrong, it could be the very, very slightest thing. This is what I would say. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was like the I am sorry girl. And the reason was I'm so sorry is because I didn't feel like I was worthy of being even in the room. Okay, and now, girls, look at this. I am fortified. And that's because I have done what is on this presentation today. And I want you to be strong. I want you to know who you are and who God is and fight for yourselves, right? So that you can heal and be whole again. Here's another one. I'm not lovable. I am lovable. I cannot protect myself. I can learn to protect myself. I am helpless. I can learn to make choices. So for those of us that get stuck with this trauma-induced shame beliefs, I want you to know there's something called eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And just for the sake of time, I don't have time to go in and talk about the science, but I want you to know that it reprocesses those trauma events and it takes those beliefs from the negative to the positive. It helps us to unfreeze those memories and allows you to resolve them. Clarity, clarity, clarity is what helps us become whole because we ground ourselves in the truth. Number 7, the dirty dozen is financial hardships. So some of us are stay-at-home moms. We don't even know that we have the right to know what's going on financially. And so because of that, we stay in very harmful situations. If there is financial abuse going on in your relationship or you feel very insecure about finances for a myriad of different reasons, I want you to go to www.wife.org or www.secondsaturday.com. Those are resources to help us if things are happening financially that are keeping us trapped or stuck in a situation. Then, number 8, the dirty dozen, spirituality and faith journey. So, here's a couple of beliefs. One's by Robin. I not only deserve but ask for all that happened to me. When I disobey, I deserve to get punished. That was Robin. It's like, ow, when I hear that, I just hurt for you. Susan said, God, where are you? I totally get this because I was mad at God. There is an enemy of this world. And I'll tell you something. The enemy of this world wants to take us out. And he is intent on bringing deception into our experience, right? He's the father of lies. He is behind all this. And oftentimes women say, we feel like our husbands are the enemy. And I go, I hear you. But let me tell you the truth. There is an enemy behind your husband. And your husband is under the influence of a master deceiver. And so we get mixed up in our head and we become mad at God when actually God is our ally and not our enemy. And I had to move through this myself. And I just want you to know it's normal. So if you're mad at God, just know I want to give you a hug and say, it's okay. It's a part of trauma. Some of us get mad at God, and it took me a while. It took me actually some years to get my relationship back established again. But now that I know this almighty ruler, and he showed up again and again and again. I'm going to show you some ways he's done that, just so you can see him, because I want to invite you with this almighty God that's fighting for us. So God's role in regards to evil is never as its author. Let's think about it. Sex trafficking, rape, hate crimes, child abuse, and sexual deception, they're counter-designed and ultimately degrade human dignity. So it is not about God. The evil is from the enemy. So when I first spoke, I have these things I call God sightings because I don't know what else to call them. They started back in June of 2015. That was 5 years ago now. The first time I heard about it, I was at the Hyatt Regency and I was doing a workshop there. And one of the betrayed partners was in that building. That's the Hyatt Regency in Dallas. And her husband was actually sitting across the street, and he was at Starbucks getting a coffee. Well, he happened to look over the building. And can you all see that? There is a double rainbow over that building. And it happened to be happening when we were doing this healing exercise, kind of like I'm talking about truth with you. I was doing it with them. Well, God doesn't miss anything, because not only did he want us to know that he is here, he wants to help us and redeem us. Guess who was holding the phone and taking the picture? Her husband. It's like God wanted to say, hey, I'm fighting for you, and I want you to see that I am trying to redeem you. I'm working on redeeming your wife and the very man who betrayed her. So I have this thing on my website, braveone.com. If you go there, you'll see God sightings. So, and this is really what it is what happens when the God of this universe spares no expense to step into your story. And he's coming with a message that says, hey, you matter to me. You are more than enough. You're worth fighting for. And I see you. This happened November 11th of 2016. This was another God sighting. And I just happened to be at another workshop, and a gal reached out to me via email. I'd met her 6 months earlier, and she was a betrayed partner. I'd met her on a cruise I was on. And so she just happened to reach out to me that day. Happened to reach out to me? There is no happen to reach out to me. She reached out to me that day. And I said, hey, Gail, we're here. I'm going to be working with some women today. Can you pray for us? And she said, of course. I will pray that God will set them free. He's alive and well, and he's able to overcome. I'm painting a picture of a lion as we speak. He's the Lion of Judah and is on the move in your heart. Unleash him. She had no idea I was doing this conference, but all of a sudden she said a painting, and I said, what? So I said, can you send me a picture? This is a picture she sent me that weekend. She said, I just started paying him, so it's mostly about the underpainting. So I'll send it in a few minutes, but also I got a group of my women to be praying for those at the conference. Now, just remember, I have a bunch of work to do on this painting, just like the Lord continues to change me. This is her final painting. It's the Lion of Judah, and it represents Jehovah Ezer. It's one of the names of God. The name of God means the Lord is my champion and help in time of need. And the Lion of Judah is battling for us. So remember the story of the rainbow that happened right in Dallas, Texas. So I told the story last year in April. I was doing a retreat at the Restoring Hearts Conference. Guess what? This gal came up to me and she said, I couldn't believe it. When you talked about the God sightings today, and showed me a picture of the rainbow over the Hyatt Regency, she said, I was blown away. This is what showed up over my hotel, the Hyatt Regency in Bellevue, this morning. So that was a God sighting. Not only did it happen in Dallas, but here I'm talking at another conference. And then what does God do? He paints a rainbow over that building as well. You think it stops there? No. God is a redeemer, and he's sending us messages to say, I see you. So I do a Bravery After Betrayal retreat. So in September of last year, I was telling the story again, just like I'm doing with you all. And one of the gals, her name is Kathy, came up to me and she said, I can't believe you just talked about the rainbow story. She said, it's my husband as we were driving through this torrential downpour in West Texas, the weekend before this Bravery After Betrayal retreat. She said, when I saw the rainbow, I lifted my phone camera up through the sunroof and snapped a photo of it. And it reminded me of the God wink that you shared with us on Friday. So she and her husband both gave me permission to share this picture because I wanted you to see that God is redeeming not only her life, but her husband's life. And this is what he said, and it's so precious. When I asked him if I could use the photo, he said this: thank you for the work that you're allowing God to do through you. I know that your help has been instrumental in helping Kathy to heal and from the trauma I caused. May God continue to bless your ministry. Now, this is one husband who has the get it factor. He is fighting for the wife that he caused the harm of. He's not even afraid to call it trauma. That's what I want for you. So God is there for you no matter where you are right now, right? My Bible has gotten tear stained and highlighted. And there's been times I couldn't open it. And there's times I did open it. And times I cried out for God to show up. But I'm just, wherever you are today, I want you to know he's alive and well and fighting for you. Personal health. So how does it affect our body? I'm going to go through these kind of quickly, but just some of us can get stuck in fight, flight, freeze, or fold. Those are 4 common parts of what happens in our body. And some of us end up in freeze, right? The depression, the weight gain, the dizziness, the low blood pressure, the low heart rate, fatigue, diarrhea, dissociation, right? Our minds are kind of mushy. Some of us end up in sympathetic. That's the fight or flight, anxiety, startle, weight loss, hypertension, panic attacks, hypervigilance, aches and pains. We can't sleep at night. We're edgy and we're aggressive. And some of them end up in both camps. And I so often hear, well, he's the one with the problem. You know, he needs to figure it out. Do what you need to stop is what we say. But let me just say this. And gals, I love you and I'm appealing for you. The toughest part of trauma recovery is that nobody's going to care about you more than taking care of you. And I know it's not fair. But wisdom for wholeness, as trauma survivors, we've got to get on our own gurney. We got to lay down on that gurney and we've got to get what we need to care for us. So wisdom for wholeness, deep, slow breathing is really important. Sometimes I'll tell people it's very simple. I want you to breathe in like you're breathing a rose. And then I want you to blow out like you're blowing out a candle. Breathe in, blow out. You want the blowout to be longer so that you don't hyperventilate, right? 7 to 9 hours of sleep, gang. And if you need some help to help you sleep, whether it's in natural supplements or psychotropic medications, gang, we've been traumatized. So please do what you need to heal. Wisdom for wholeness. We need self-soothing. We need self-care. We need self-compassion. So many of you say, thank you for just saying, be kind to yourself, because this has been a tough journey for you. Medical visits with your doctor to look at your body and your brain, right? There's been impact to us. And number 10 is the impact to our sexuality. So 100 women, right, have said, 100% of them said, I feel violated due to my partner's sexual betrayals, right? Some of us, 67% of us said, I'm concerned about an STD. And 22% of us, that's 1 in 5, said, I've been pressured to perform sexually in ways that were uncomfortable for me, like forced painful sex or being watched while having sex with other, anal sex, sexual domination or being filmed. That's not okay, right? So we need to have boundaries on that. I have a whole chapter on this, and it's called Remember When Sex Was Safe and Skydiving Was Dangerous. There's a difference between healthy sexuality and unhealthy sexuality. There's some research that was done, and actually there were scientists in the Netherlands, and they looked at a PET study, and they looked at studying women's brain brains during sexual arousal and climax. And they said if there are two things, fear and anxiety, it interferes with a woman's ability to receive the full range of pleasure that healthy sex offers. So our brains can't be thinking of how we've been sexually violated and have an orgasm at the same time. We're not erroneous objects to be disrespected, shamed, or used. We're human beings intricately designed for respectful bonding that is sacred, sensual, and intentional. You matter. So wisdom for wholeness means I got to look at my body. I got to look at my sexuality, and I got to figure out what I need to heal. Seeing the right doctors to make sure. And that means if it's an STD or you're scared about it, you got to go, gal. I know I wrote about it in my book. I told you about my STD because I knew I wanted to go first, and I wanted to make sure there was no one left behind because I am caring for that, and I have been caring for that over the years. 11 is treatment trauma. And this is when we go to well-meaning professionals who aren't trained on the new model or that tell us things like this. You need to just have more sex with your husband, buy new lingerie, or hey, he's not acting out anymore. You need to trust me. I know when they're not God. There's a lot of reasons that we can experience treatment trauma. And so I just want to make sure that you get to the right professionals that get it and know what you're going through. And so there's hope for us as betrayed partner survivors. I'm going to list some of the few things here. There's EMDR, right? And there's the website for it. Mindfulness, somatic therapies, deep breathing, therapists that specialize in trauma and betrayal. Here's a couple of folks that do that. These are folks that get it. There's either apsats.org, and you can see it there, or itap.com. Emotional regulation skills, right? DBT, those are things that are helping us. And then last but not least, there's impact to our friendships and community. I don't even need to say that, right? Our friends, some of them go away. It was kind of like Connor and I had leprosy, that people just pulled away from us because I think they thought they were going to get it, or maybe made them feel nervous about what was happening in their own marriage. So wisdom for wholeness is we need ongoing support groups. We need to be with other betrayed partners. Let me tell you something I'm very excited about, because so many of you have been coming to me after reading my book and saying, hey, I want more. So I am going to be launching a Brave One community very soon. And this is a way that you're going to have access to me. You're going to have access to my trainings and how I can help you heal more. You just got a bit of it today, but girls, I got to tell you, there's going to be so much more that can help you grow stronger. And so go to braveone.com and click on the link, and you can sign up to know about it when we launch, but it's coming through soon. The restoration's possible. Just so you know, all these names are real people that have been restored. Now, some of us have been restored as single people, meaning our marriage was a casualty, but our life is anything but that. And so all these folks, whether they're couples or singles, are real people. And I want to give y'all a shout out of my heart that are on the other side of healing, and they're working on restoration. The research shows that post-traumatic growth, right? When a partner gets what they need to get, whatever's good for us, we can heal and we can actually grow stronger. So another thing that's coming that I want to let you know is coming down the chute here very soon is my workbook. Many of you have emailed me, hey, when are you going to have your workbook? And I've been working on it for almost 2 years now, a year and a half since my book came out. I did a trial for 10 months on a real partner trauma group, and we made some revisions. And so go online, again, ask me, hey, when are you getting your workbooks coming out? And sign up, and I'll let you know as soon as it's ready to launch. But it's on its way. And then go to braveone.com. There's a ton of resources there. I want you to get what you need to heal. Follow me on social media at Dr. Sheri Keffer, Facebook, Instagram. I'm constantly staying connected with you all because I want to help you heal. So I just want you to know, gang, I care about you, and I really want to give you what you need. I love you. I'm praying for you, and I just want you to know I'm fighting for you. So brave on.
Here I am. And that was so good. So as a fellow trauma therapist, as a fellow person trained in EMDR, and as a person that helps people through childhood trauma and ongoing trauma, that was really good. That was some really good information. Don't you just love how the Lord takes us from trauma, and if we give it to him and do the right, do the steps that we need to do, it's the very place we minister out of.
It is. It is. And you know this as well as I know, Dr. Barbara, that we don't have to stay broken. We can actually heal and become whole again. And so I love what you're doing. And I'm so excited that you've invited me to be a part of this, to help women who've experienced betrayal become whole again.
Yes. I like to say, where you're sealing it, your ceiling will become your floor. If you'll do the work, where you are stuck will actually become the floor from which you will walk, that you will minister, that life will come out of you. So it's so good. And you're a great example of that. So thank you for becoming better rather than bitter. I always love hearing Sheri speak. I think she's a very good speaker, and her story really helps us see some of the steps that we need to take, some of the awareness that we need to walk in Christ dependence rather than codependence, to synchronize with Christ, with Jesus, with the Trinity, with the Spirit, rather than deception, rather than darkness, and to how Jesus heals our PTSD from our attachment traumas. Okay. We're podcasting 3 times a week. Make sure you're following us, all places where podcasts come out. Make sure you're getting notifications. We are doing this for you to help your heart heal. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and make sure that if you are struggling with rejection, that you get our free resource. Go to drbarbaministries.org/rejection to get our free little ebook to help. This is for women, but men could use it too, to overcome from rejection. And then follow the Heart Journey Ministry by Dr. Barbara, where podcasts are put out, and on YouTube. And then on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, follow Dr. Barbara Ministries. We love you. We'll see you in all the usual places.